Hi there, everyone. Welcome to Primetime TV Show. Ooh, I heard a little echo there for a second. Nothing like hearing my own voice there. I want to welcome you for joining us today. Today, my husband has the day off, and in his place, I must say...
And I look just like him.
Well, yeah, sort of, right? Is Maura Sweeney back by popular demand, her cameo appearance once again. Maura and I were hanging out today with a group of amazing women. Cher, I know you're out there. We want to say hey, and thanks for a great meeting this morning. And that's how Maura really ended up in the show today, and potential of booking other of our guests of amazing women like yourself. And I tell you, that was a great breakfast
It
today.
always is. There's great energy, great women, great ideas, great collaboration.
Yes, collaboration was the key word today. And so many women collaborating together. What was your biggest takeaway?
How about love? What if I told you it's just everybody there, they embrace one another in a very loving atmosphere.
That's
and
very
it causes
true.
everyone to feel empowered, to grow, and to expand.
Very, very good.
Don't ask me any question, Barbara, because I'll create a book.
No, that's okay. And this was not pre-rehearsed. I didn't ask these questions ahead of time. But in case we have new viewers with us today, I just want to give you a little background. Actually, it's not a little. It runs off the sheets here if I had the whole background of Maura Sweeney. But her little motto is Maura for you. And I tease her every time I see her. I go, Maura for you, Maura for me. Because you are such an advocate for other people, men and women. And I just, when I met you the first time, I thought, wow, what a bundle of joy and energy. And of course, had to have you on the show. But Maura is an author, podcaster, and Huffington Post contributor who inspires others to live happy inside out. And I tell you, that in itself is just, I have to applaud you. But she's a former award-winning corporate manager and homeschooling mom who claims she wasn't ready for her career of a lifetime until after turning 50. Now, I'm calling out to all of you women that may be boomers and you're still wondering what you're going to be when you grow up. I want you to hear Maura's story here in just a little bit. But in addition to serving as a regular guest on talk radio programs, she's been featured in Match.com, Midlife Boulevard, Better After 50, Tampa Bay Times, Boston Globe, and Britain's BBC Radio. And I remember that story from the last time. Maura combines her eclectic background and travels to 50 countries and counting to share good news, musings, and ideas that capture what's best in us all. And you can always find Maura at Maura4, the number 4, you, the letter U.com, because she's always for you. And honestly, that is so true. You are one of many women that I know walk their walk 24/7, 100% of the time. Maura, I swear, was putting a group of groupies together for Dancing with the Local Stars, showed up at my Dancing with the Local Stars.
Took a video interview of you.
And then she grabs me and took a video. She's interviewing
Grabbed your
me.
son. Sorry for interrupting.
That was so funny. That's right. You didn't even know he was my son.
No, but he was adorable.
I know.
Just kind.
And he's single, by the way. He'll get after me.
Have
if
him
he
on the
wants.
show one day.
Yeah, right. It was enough when I took him at age 14 on the guest show at HSN for the Christmas season.
Did you?
He never let me forget about that.
You could have your own bachelor show.
But that's not a bad idea. We could do maybe a dating show, huh?
Right.
And
you could play matchmaker.
Always trying to bring the best out in everyone, right? Anyway,
Yes.
But I want to thank you for coming on. Maura is so cute because she came in today and told us how we were going to do the show, which I love. She goes,
only if you wanted it.
No, this is wonderful. She says, don't you love how I take over? I go, today, yes. Because I got a flat tire sitting in the driveway here. As soon as I got here, I said, I think I ran over a curb. But anyway, that's a whole long story. But Maura brought me these little quotes and things, and I want her to expand on it. But before we get with that, because I'm going to hold her with us for a full hour, because if this gal doesn't motivate you, I don't know what will. I want you to kind of encapsulate your past, because you went off to college, kind of, sort of against your heart, and was trying to fulfill a dream as someone else, until you kind of saw the light, kind of awakened, and kind of rebirthed yourself into where you really want to be, which is what you're doing now.
It took me over 50 years to get there, which is why primetime TV is a great place for me to be and share the story.
I know, it is. So at what point, where was that tipping point? Where was it where you recognized, what am I doing here? I don't want to do this.
Barbara, it was always there. My quick backstory is this. I was brought up in New Jersey, where it's cold. I always knew I was a warm weather person. I always had this free spirit, creative spirit in me. Always wanted to dance, have fun, join everybody into whatever I was doing. And I was brought up to be a New Jersey lawyer. So this was the part of, let's say, the box or the patterning I was brought up under. And I was a very compliant child. So I went to Boston for college, graduated, came back to New Jersey. And like a good girl, I went to law school in Newark, New Jersey, downtown Newark, which in the early 80s was not so safe. And I was beyond the midway point in law school. And all I could think about is, I don't want to continue living in New Jersey. I don't want to practice law. And I just kept thinking, do I have it in me to work in this career for 40 years?
Wow.
Which really takes a passion.
Sure.
To finally retire and say, I'm retiring to Florida, which is what I really wanted to do. So my short story was this. A little bit after the midpoint of law school, I left. And I was a little bit of a chicken back then. I didn't want to tell everybody I can't stand this. I just said I'm taking a leave of absence, knowing in my heart it was permanent. But the big thing for me was, okay, if I know what I don't want to be, because it didn't feel like my heart. And I'll tell you, if I'm on again, we'll have to show on the screen what I looked like, Barbara, at that point. It's under the About More section in my website. There is a photograph of me that if you were to look at me, you'd say, that can't possibly be Maura, because I was vacuous. I was standing in New York City in front of Mama Leone's restaurant, and if you looked at my eyes, they were just blank. Now, I was going through all the motions, but every day that I went to school and got closer to graduation and obviously moving into that, I felt like I was losing myself. So the big thing was I had to figure out, if I know what I don't want to do, what do I want to do?
Sure.
And hence begins the life journey. And all I did was I took off on my journey, and I ended up doing very nicely in business. I loved it, found out that I was a wonderful manager, better a manager than a salesperson, because I loved finding people of talent and finding their talent and cultivating their talent and developing their talent and developing managers, which I became very adept at. And then had our own child, as if I had somebody else's child, homeschooled her, helped my husband develop a business. But our quickie story is that when our daughter grew up, my husband and I, decided to close a family business that we had and really set out on doing something that would give us a lifestyle career. And see, this now I'm thinking about primetime TV. So many of us years ago would think, oh, you hit 50 or you hit 60 and you're really old. Do you remember? Or you remember they used to run Geritol commercials when I was growing up. If you were 35, you were ready for Geritol. And the man's voice on TV was already getting quiet and slowing down because you were low on energy. Now think about that as a mindset.
Yes.
We would think that life would move very quickly through the decades, and by the time we hit 50 and 60, all right, now that's it. But the truth now is that there's a whole new life post 50.
Oh, yes.
And so that's what I'm living.
But you know what, don't you think that, and you are, don't you think that's a choice? Don't we all have that choice. That's inside of us. Whether you decide to be home and a couch potato because you worked corporate America or you had your own business, and you know what? That's fine. That's fine if that's what a person wants to do. For me, not so much. I know for you, not so much. I'm always creating. You're always creating and always thinking, what's the next entrepreneurial thing that I can do? And it always leads back to helping others. And that's where you're going as well. And I'm sure that you'll probably agree about this whole shift of consciousness to where people are wanting to help other people and really share more love. Share more love, because we truly need that in the world. And there's so many ways that we can all do that and pay it forward. That's one reason why I love doing primetime, because we get a chance to say our piece, and maybe just one person out there that might be able to glean a little bit of, you know what? those girls have something. You know what? I'm going to go out and I'm going to do something, or I'm going to take all that money in the bank and go invest in a clothing store or something online or whatever. And you know what? It's happening more and more and more. Just today, there was a lot of gals that have a few years on their life that didn't even have business cards because they're changing again. And so it's fabulous. It truly is. Now, before the show, we were talking about leadership. And you handed me these cards with some, you're so funny. I love this, really, totally prepared. She gave me these quotes, and they're very meaningful, and I'm sure you'll get a kick out of these as I did. But what does leadership mean to you? You know, leadership, okay. It kind of spells it out, but what you handed me was leadership is not about titles, positions, or flow charts. It's about one life influencing another. John C. Maxwell. And you know what? You stop and think about it, there's a lot of truth in that.
Yes. But
that is a leader.
Right. But we came from a different paradigm. Mm-hmm. We came from this. Everything was an organizational structure. When we grew up, everyone had a title. And that title at times could be, you're a housewife.
Right.
You are the paper man, whatever.
Right.
The mailman, rather, I should say.
Right.
These days, we don't have those titles anymore, nor do we have these setups where leaders are the person at the top that tells everybody else what to do.
Right.
There's a different form of leadership coming out. And I thought it might be a wonderful thing to speak about today because people don't realize we all have the capacity to be a leader. We are all people of influence, but sometimes we give up that agency, or often we give up that agency and that autonomy because we are accustomed to having the world tell us what to do, or we fall into various boxes that others have told us we should be in.
Yes.
But we're at the point right now where we could say, wait a minute, I have life experience, or maybe I have time that I never had before. Maybe I have skills that can be utilized somewhere to help others. There are so many different ways that we can take what's in and of ourselves and our interest levels and become a person of influence and literally become a leader, but not in the traditional sense where I'm president of the club, or I am I'm senator, any of those kinds of things, or I'm the manager of a business. Were you the one that said earlier today at a meeting, or it could have been another woman, have you noticed that no one has just one title these days?
Yes.
Were you the one?
Yes. Yeah.
Years ago, didn't everybody say, well, I was an administrator, or I am a professor?
Yeah.
Everyone had a title, and from that title, we could pretty much put them in a box.
Put them in a box.
They've had this background.
Right.
The boxes are now totally going away. We could say they're bleeding out, but they're going away. And so people need to almost take that sense of agency and say, all right, now, if I can't necessarily even come out of school these days and guarantee myself a job in a specific career, what do I have within me that can create something anew? Can I be entrepreneurial? Do I have a skill set or an interest that can benefit other people? And that can satisfy what I enjoy, but also deliver a service or a value to someone else.
I think that is a remarkable comment because it really does speak the truth for at least most of the women that we know around the general area. A lot of them are feeling that way because especially when you add quite a few years to your life, and if you've made it, lost it, lost it, you've got all that to actually share with others. And I think it's just very profound to really look at your life. Maybe there's some women that really don't look at it that way, and they when they retire or whatever, they kind of leave that title on the shelf. I was this at this for how many years and all that. Were you at, no, you weren't there at the Amazing Women. It was in the Crystal Beach last week. It was Thursday night. One of the gals got up, and she's a life coach now. I'm going to have her on our show. And she said she lost her identity after she worked in corporate America. She lost her identity, okay, because when she lost the job, she realized at that point that she was defining herself and others was defining her based on her position at that company.
Yes.
And I personally couldn't relate to it, but she really felt broken.
But I didn't feel broken. I just knew it was time to go.
Oh,
but
see,
yes, I remember that
yes.
because so much of your life is consumed by that job that you know yourself within the confines. And when it's gone, your support group, your environment, everything familiar to you is gone. And then you say, who am I? Who is that person in the mirror?
Exactly. And you know, my heart went out to her because I couldn't relate to that. When I left my last job, as I know it, I made a decision in the very beginning because it was a public job on TV, and I said to myself, I'm not going to let this job define me. I'm not going to do that. I want to just be myself, do a great job, and look for other additional ways to be a leader with the treasures and talents that I was born with that are emerging in the older years of my life. And of course, my family, my grandson, they all motivate me, and we all know that, you know, there's a little bit of dysfunction out there in families today, and there's so many of us that have gone around the block a few times and have learned quite a bit that we can share with others. So I get exactly what you're saying, but this gal, it took her quite a while to get her identity back.
It's like going through an identity crisis.
Exactly.
Because you think you're your job instead of being you.
Right.
And there's only one you.
That's right. But
yet you can take certain skills and experiences you had from your past and formulate it into something new, or morph it or evolve it into something new. And if you don't mind, I had some thoughts about you on the way up, as anticipating the show I created for us.
Do you want to hold those till we come back from our break?
Go right ahead.
I can't wait to hear what your thoughts were.
Hopefully I'll still remember, but it was good.
Well, we have just a couple of minutes here, but hold your thoughts.
I will.
We're going to do a little housekeeping, and when we come back, we have more for you. We have more for you. More for you. And we'll be right back after this.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonatti created, perfected, and patented the Bonatti spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonatti invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonatti spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonatti succeeds where others fail.
This is one bee that loves going to the dentist because it's made for you and me.
My name is Dr. Becerra from New Tampa Pediatric Dental, providing a comfortable atmosphere in early dental care. Gives kids a great start for healthy teeth and gums for life.
When I go to Dr. B, they don't do anything to hurt you.
I used to be afraid, but I'm not now. I'm not afraid of the dentist anymore. I love to see Dr. B. Call New Tampa Pediatric Dental today.
Hi, I'm Derek Brooks, former linebacker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. During my NFL career, I realized the importance of giving back and started my foundation, Derek Brooks Charities. We help Tampa Bay youth prepare for a successful life through our college prep and mentoring programs. Our goal is to see youth excel academically and develop strong characters and be better citizens for tomorrow. To further our mission, we've teamed up with Fun Night, a company that gives members access to thousands of nationwide discounts on products and services they buy every day. These include entertainment, retail purchases, dining, and travel. Best of all, 33% of every membership fee goes to the charity of your choice. We love being able to save our supporters money while giving them a unique opportunity to support our charitable work in the community. I invite you to consider using Fun Night to save money and give back to your favorite cause. Visit www.funnight.us to sign up now and get a free 30-day trial. Save money, help others with Fun Night, and support Derek Brooks Charities.
This is one bee that loves going to the dentist because it's made for you and me.
My name is Dr. Becerra from New Tampa Pediatric Dental, providing a comfortable atmosphere in early dental care. Gives kids a great start for healthy teeth and gums for life.
When I go to Dr. B, they don't do anything to hurt you.
I used to be afraid, but I'm not now. I'm not afraid of the dentist anymore. I love to see Dr. B. Call New Tampa Pediatric Dental today. to the dentist because it's made for you and me.
The environment here is really kid-friendly, family-friendly. The parents are welcome to watch.
It's definitely been a different atmosphere since Dr. Becerra has come on. It's very inviting and welcoming, and the children just enjoy coming here all around.
My middle son did not like to come to the dentist, but now he loves to come to the Beehive.
You don't have to be afraid to go to the dentist. Call New Tampa Pediatric Dental today.
Everyone's story is different, so why be limited to just one or two options? With Norcom's Norflex Home Loan, you're given the flexibility to tell your story. Pick your terms from 8 to 30 years, all while maintaining a low, fixed mortgage rate. You can pay off your loan more quickly or choose a term based on your budget and timeline. Whatever you do with the Norflex Home Loan, make it part of your financial plan. Norflex, short-term, long-term, your terms. Apply online at norcommortgage.com.
Hi everyone, we're back here on Primetime TV Show. I'm your host Barbara Marville. My husband is off for today, and with me is Maura Sweeney, and we were just having a blast before the break. That went so fast, didn't it?
It did.
It really does. No, so I asked Maura to hold her thought because she has something to share. So what was that?
Well, before the break, we were speaking about how this one woman you had run into had defined her life by her career and didn't realize it until her career went away. And then suddenly she went into an identity crisis. That happens so frequently, and I know for a decade I was working in corporate America and it was just consuming me. I got a lot out of it, but there came a day that I knew it was time for me to go, and then I had to kind of reinvent myself again as a stay-at-home mom and a homeschooling mother.
Sure.
But there are other ways to look at scenarios and situations in life. You know, sometimes we could reach a point of change and we can think about it in the negative, or we can embrace it with some positive thoughts. I was driving up here thinking about you and your background, Barbara. Now, here you were on HSN, and you were a very popular hostess. Everyone is relating to you, and you are introducing a plethora of products that people could buy.
I did.
Now, here's the interesting thing. That was your career and your job that at one point maybe was something of a design around you. Now, here you are today. Do you realize, and this is something that anyone could relate to, you have taken all of the skills, all of the knowledge base that you had in the past, but you've evolved into your own leader. See, before you were representing the products and lines of other people, and you had the banner of home shopping. Now today, you're Barbara Marville. You have your own show. And every time I hear you speak, you are advancing causes that are important to you. You're an idea woman. You are raising the lives, the livelihoods, and the manner of thinking of so many people. You're a community-minded woman. You are out there and you are an influence to people who maybe haven't been on your track but were watching you and thinking today, look what Barbara Marville did. She's someone my age, and I used to see her in this capacity, but now she's in this. You become a living picture of hope and liveliness and vitality to show that as time moves forward, we don't need to lament what's no longer in our lives. And one great example is, how about women who become so accustomed to being mom, and those children grow up, and they leave the nest.
Yes.
And maybe they're not going to be producing grandchildren anytime soon. So this whole concept of I'm mom now has gone away.
Right.
And women, and even men maybe, might lament over the loss of what was.
Yes.
But they can look and think to themselves, well, wait a minute. What were some of the skills I developed? What were some of the things I really loved? How can I find new and different outlets for them? Maybe there are other people somewhere that need a mom.
You know, that's so true, and thank you for saying that. I told you Maura would come in and take over the show. It's perfectly fine.
Sorry. My husband always says she has no off switch.
I love it. I love it. That was so beautiful what you said. I never thought of that. But you're right. I did. And you know, when I was raising my kids, I was a stay-at-home mom for a couple of years. I did go back to work. And intermittently I would do that. But I was also thinking as being an entrepreneur at some point, because I knew the day would come where the kids would leave. And so I kept my hands on the present, my eyes on the future, and envision where I would go. I mean, nothing is forever. And so it's interesting that you say that about what I'm doing now, still with the television camera still finding me today. I want them, it's not all about me, it's about me taking, and people, you can make products shine, all the time, but it's more rewarding when I can make people shine and bring the best out in them and share with a viewing audience that is growing and growing here. And I'm just very honored to be with Tampa Bay Multimedia, WeBeam TV, and giving the exposure and bringing people on like yourself. I get something out of this too.
It's very evident. It's evident. And I bet there's a level of excitement, enthusiasm, and heart-centeredness to this that maybe you never even approximated when you were at home shopping. I'm sure as the sales were going up, you were happy. But this is of a different order for you.
Yeah, it is
more personal.
It is. It really is, and it's like that mission because when people love to watch TV, people love to watch video. You can put anything in print and put it up on a website and all that, but you don't see the windows to the soul as you do with a video or with people that are live and unrehearsed, very organic, which is what this is. We go over a few things that we're going to talk about in the show, but more or less, it's all unrehearsed, and that's what's real. That's what people like to see,
And Barbara, if I could say, if I were on the other side of this, now today I happen to be a guest, but see, this is
you're running the show too.
I am running the show. Let's just assume I was watching you.
I may have you stand in sometime.
Just call me up if I'm free. I'll come.
John, you got that on tape, right?
But think about this. Because you are so genuine, you already had a TV persona and you were successful at what you did because you have this relatability. So now you take it, but it's yours. It's the things that are near and dear to your heart. And you love people. And you love helping people. And you love advancing people and really cheering people on. Well, if I were watching the show instead of taking it over today as I am, I would be watching. I think, you know what? I feel this.
Yeah.
I can relate to this. We may be opposite the screens, let's say. But the people on the other side, I know I'm like this. I look for people I can relate to because as they share their stories, and as you said, this is very organic. My stories may not be identical, but I'm relating to what's going on because I'm thinking, you know what? My story's a little bit like that. I can relate to this, and now I feel hope. Or I saw someone else do something different. They were in a similar situation. I think I could do it too. It's very empowering and supportive and uplifting. And how could you not like what you do?
Well, but I have to tell you, though, it took many years of personal growth and development, too. And speaking about relating to people, that is exactly what I started at probably age 18 or 19. I'd listen to talk shows, I'd watch talk shows, and I would relate, just the way you're talking about, is relating to people that had something that was meaningful to me personally. Maybe I'm going through a little challenge or maybe a little meltdown or whatever. I mean, I'm human too, and everybody says, "Oh, are you so bouncy, bubbly all the time and everything?" It's not always that way. I mean, it's how you handle life's little things and little circumstances and people, and really learning how to go through and dance life. Love, inspire, forgive, and enlighten. My mantra. It is totally my mantra. And that was all it just came to me because that's what we have to learn to do when we're working with people, relationships, with businesses, and people sometimes that maybe you're, questioning and all that kind of thing. So it's all about evolving, but we each have that mission to accomplish within ourselves, our belief system, which sometimes we need to alter a little bit to match our heart's song, and that really is what makes sense to me. But I thank you for sharing that. That's really beautiful. What else did you want to cover in the show?
Well,
I'm messing with you. Where did you want to take the show now, Maura? Let's go.
Wherever you want, Barbara.
I want to hear, what is the purpose of your soul? Why am I here? How can I create something uplifting, strengthening? And how can that be a benefit to others after I'm gone? That's very profound. This was Neil Donald Walsch. Was that the one, Conversations with God?
Conversations with God. Now, it's not a title of a book, but this is what he's been talking about lately. What is the purpose of your soul? Now, we are so accustomed to living on the outside, meaning whatever whatever the messages are that are coming to us from society, from the media, from the culture, from the rules, it doesn't matter. We end up becoming more an effect of life rather than the cause of life. And when we are busy going through processes that are out there, it could be going through school, it could be going through all the motions of bringing children up, and we kind of live like automatons. Or we get involved in a job and the job becomes us, but we sort of lose touch with what's within.
Sure.
What is the purpose of your soul is a question that says, who am I? Why am I here? What do I have in the way of qualities that, if given an outlet or a few outlets, can actually lift up other people in my wake, that could help me grow to who I'm supposed to be, so that I feel satisfied, that I feel like I'm fully evolved, but that also will add to the lives of others and give them permission. It kind of, when I say permission, it's not a permission that people would even recognize, but it's this sort of unconscious permission that says, oh, I can grow too. I can expand too. I can show my light too. I can step out and go beyond where I've been before.
Exactly.
And that, the purpose of our soul, I can just say this. I grew up in a certain era. I was born in the late 50s. I was born right outside of New York City. And when I think about that era, it was during Eisenhower. Eisenhower's president, then we moved into Kennedy. But it was very much a time post-World War II where everybody had their place. The women were supposed to be at home, vacuuming and using all the modern conveniences, right?
Yeah.
They were supposed to love it, being at home with 5 kids or whatever, and the floor was always neat. And then the husband would come home. Do you remember this? And he'd be giving the newspaper. He'd sit in his easy chair. He would have the slippers put on, and it was presented to us as, this is happiness.
Father knows best.
Exactly. And also, don't forget, you need that house with a white picket fence.
Right.
But see, all that stuff can become this expectation or this cookie cutter environment that we feel that we need to like. And this is the difference. Oops, that's you. Something's happening.
Sorry, I have
Better
my
you than
phone
me.
here. That was for the flat tire guy.
Oh, all right.
But I think they're doing that.
But
yeah, no, you're right. I remember, and how things have really changed.
Well, think about this. If you live this way for decades, where you're doing everything you think you should be doing, and you don't check in with, who am I? What's important to me? Like, maybe I could be living in the same house, but maybe there are some things in my life that really need to find outlet.
Yes.
That is the purpose of our soul.
Yes, yes.
And we almost need to remember to ask ourselves that question, and also to be around other people and in certain environments where our soul gets a chance to be free.
There's a lot to be said for that.
You know, you got a break coming up.
We have a break coming up in just a few minutes, but I totally agree with you, because I found myself asking that question, and it seems like there's I don't know what point to call that, and it hits people differently. Sometimes it doesn't hit people before they leave this planet, but I'm finding that there's more people that I run into today, both men and women, that is noticing that there are some very strong needs in our world today, which we need to get back to, is loving, 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 more, more, more. I can't say it enough. And I'm talking about sharing it with your family, neighbors, friends, and just really putting more love back into people's hearts, because that will spread. It definitely will spread. And that's what my husband and I are all about with Heart Math Institute. It's a nonprofit organization. We're going to be doing that workshop in 2 weeks, well, less than 2 weeks now, on March 8th here at the Oneness Center. And my husband's going to be talking about the science behind what happens when we truly love. When we love more and show more love, we're going to show how that affects our bodies and our physiological, our emotional.
I was going to say healing, right?
It's healing. It literally goes right down. Talk about the soul, goes right down to the pit of the soul at the cellular level. And this is really,
exciting.
I know.
I believe it,
know.
though. I so believe it.
That Heart Math has done some amazing studies. My husband went to the mountains not once, but twice to become certified. And he was like just so enthralled by the way they really tap into your emotional heartstrings and teach you. I mean, all the services, all the armed forces are using Heart Math, because, you know, it helps you get into that place of love in spite of what you have to go through. And it's just amazing to be able to, it's great to live a heart-empowered life, but when you really understand what's behind it and why it changes your physiology, then you know it works. It's validated. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Because sometimes you could say, well, it sounds like a good concept, but when you know empirically that it does work,
yes,
suddenly now it carries much more validity.
Yes, yes. In fact, the last show that we did when Kelly was here, we sort of did a little tease on that because it is so very profound. And if more people were doing it, good will, no matter what, outcome and overcome evil. And there is that going on in the world today,
and we
unfortunately.
Need it. But we need that.
We need us little light workers.
Yes.
And sharing the love and all that kind of good stuff. I know some of you guys are going, oh, there she goes again on her soapbox. Anyway, we have on that note, we have a commercial break we're going to take right now. When we come back, Maura will continue to host the show, and I will co-host with her. We'll be right back after this.
So nice to have you on today, Barbara.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonatti created, perfected, and patented the Bonatti spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonatti invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonatti spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonatti succeeds where others fail.
This is one bee that loves going to the dentist because it's made for you and me.
My name is Dr. Becerra from New Tampa Pediatric Dental, providing a comfortable atmosphere in early dental care. Gives kids a great start for healthy teeth and gums for life.
When I go to Dr. B, they don't do anything to hurt you.
I used to be afraid, but I'm not now. I'm not afraid of the dentist anymore. I love to see Dr. B. Call New Tampa Pediatric Dental today.
Hi, I'm Derek Brooks, former linebacker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. During my NFL career, I realized the importance of giving back and started my foundation, Derek Brooks Charities. We help Tampa Bay youth prepare for a successful life through our college prep and mentoring programs. Our goal is to see youth excel academically and develop strong characters and be better citizens for tomorrow. To further our mission, we've teamed up with Fun Night, a company that gives members access to thousands of nationwide discounts on products and services they buy every day. These include entertainment, retail purchases, dining, and travel. Best of all, 33% of every membership fee goes to the charity of your choice. We love being able to save our supporters money while giving them a unique opportunity to support our charitable work in the community. I invite you to consider using Fun Night to save money and give back to your favorite cause. Visit www.funnight.us to sign up now and get a free 30-day trial. Save money, help others with Fun Night, and support Derek Brooks Charities.
This is one bee that loves going to the dentist because it's made for you and me.
My name is Dr. Becerra from New Tampa Pediatric Dental, providing a comfortable atmosphere in early dental care. Gives kids a great start for healthy teeth and gums for life.
When I go to Dr. B, they don't do anything to hurt you.
I used to be afraid, but I'm not now. I'm not afraid of the dentist anymore. I love to see Dr. B. Call New Tampa Pediatric Dental today. This is one bee that loves going to the dentist because it's made for you and me.
The environment here is really kid-friendly, family-friendly. The parents are welcome to watch.
It's definitely been a different atmosphere since Dr. Becerra has come on. It's very inviting and welcoming, and the children just enjoy coming here all around.
My middle son did not like to come to the dentist, but now he loves to come to the Beehive.
You don't have to be afraid to go to the dentist. Call New Tampa Pediatric Dental today.
Everyone's story is different, so why be limited to just one or two options? With Norcom's Norflex Home Loan, you're given the flexibility to tell your story. Pick your terms from 8 to 30 years, all while maintaining a low, fixed mortgage rate. You can pay off your loan more quickly or choose a term based on your budget and timeline. Whatever you do with the Norflex home loan, make it part of your financial plan. Norflex. Short-term, long-term, your terms. Apply online at norcommortgage.com.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Primetime TV Show. Or wait a minute, I should have had you say that. You say that, practice that. Go ahead. Oh, bring us back.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Primetime TV, and I'd like you to meet my guest today, Barbara Marville.
We're totally confused.
So nice to have you on today, Barbara.
I know, right? See, I'm very giving. I
You are so giving, ultra giving.
I know, right? So what were we sharing just before we took our break? Were you going to make some points? Or?
Well, you were talking, this is funny. This is the way this show is going, but it's very nice. You were talking about how you came up with LIVE, L-I-V-E?
Life. Mm-hmm.
Okay, life. Tell us
life.
Again.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us what they stand
life
for.
Is my mantra that reminds me, ropes me back in, no matter what's happening. Life is for love, inspire, forgive, and enlighten. Those are virtues that just shakes me up and makes me remember that.
Well, as you were sharing it before we went to the break, this is what I saw. I saw a woman who allows life to happen and she will embrace it. And that means sometimes we get curveballs in life. And think about this, we always have a choice. You mentioned this at the beginning of the show. With everything that presents itself to us, every new detail, we have a choice of either opening ourselves up and seeing it as a positive or closing ourselves off, sometimes because we're fearful. We want to control life.
Right.
And we end up becoming almost brittle and we become fearful. But as you were even sharing that, I thought that so typifies your entire personality because you really do go with the flow.
Yeah, you really, I try to. Yes. I really do. I mean, like I said to you before, don't kid yourself. I do have my little mini meltdowns every once in a while, you know. But I mean, it's how you handle these things to pull yourself out of it, and sometimes people just can't find their way. And that's why I love having shows like this and having guests like yourself on to just come on and share what's worked for you. And after, 50 years it took you to decide where your heart was.
Well, you know what? It was all preparation. I'm probably a very good example of just what I was referring to with you before, is that even though I came out of the law school circuit, which to me was inside the box, and I'm more of a creative, and I'm very, as you can tell, little social. So, and in through business, which helped develop me more. I mean, there are people today that I'm still in touch with from 30 years ago that I was managing and developing. And so that added to my life. And then with my daughter, we had a wonderful era there bringing her up. But when I look at where I am today, I have taken everything, and I mean everything, Barbara, from my background from when I was in 3rd grade, and I remember reading the entire library of biographies, the American biography series of every person.
Wow.
Oh, I loved it because I was reading the stories of people that started out as little children at different times in life, different times in our society, and they all had hurdles to overcome. It was all a different time within our culture, and I would watch and follow how these people overcame things that were presented to them, how they dealt with struggles, how they were visionaries, and they would sort of just give themselves permission to keep going and following after what they loved. So I've taken all this, you referenced that I've traveled a lot. I am a natural interviewer. I've done this all my life. I love hearing people's stories. So now what I do as more for you, this cultural journalist that I've become, is I do what I'm always doing. It's that now I could say, here's my card. I have my own website. I'm a Huffington Post contributor. Mind if I interview you? And I get to interview and learn about other people's stories where maybe they've gone through tough times and have come out. And when I'm inspired, I will share that, maybe in a podcast, maybe in a blog, maybe when I'm doing public speaking. So I am an exchanger or a purveyor of people's stories of, life gave me lemons, but I turned it into some really special lemonade.
True.
And the people that I've met, from people that might be well known to totally obscure, here locally as well as overseas, I'm always adding to my treasure trove of good thoughts. And there's something about all of these things that all of us could relate to. We could live in any country, we could be any age, we all can get daunted, but we could all find that place of hope to say, you know what, can I believe in something greater?
Yes.
And really, it does all go back to love.
It does.
It does. It goes back
It's
to
my
love.
favorite 4-letter word. It always works. Love always works. It heals all. It endures all. Doesn't it endure all? I mean, really.
Yes.
And when you're going through tough times, you know, I haven't really said a whole lot about this, but my husband has been going through some tough times with healing himself, and we'll be talking about that on a different show because it may be able to help anybody that they have the same challenges. But you know, love does endure all, and when you live from your heart and you ask your heart, you know, okay, what do you want me to do with this? Your heart will always answer. And you know, my husband just said this at Mary Lou's service yesterday. He said, you know, I asked God, why me, God? Why me of all people? And then as soon as he asked that, and he was asking his heart at the same time, the answer came, well, why not me,
I knew you were going to say, why not?
Why not? Why not? Because if I can overcome this, he's always looking ahead, always looking at how it can impact other people, because that's what his mission has been in life after overcoming all the craziness. And
That has been his life story, too.
It's been his total
Which
life
makes
story.
him so amazingly inspirational.
Yes,
And people hear that and think, oh, there's hope for me.
That's right. And that's it right there. Another 4-letter word. Because when you feel hopeless, you feel helpless. And when you feel hopeless and helpless, how does that make you feel? Then you go into the D word, depression.
Yes.
And there's so much of that out there today, too, that if you know anybody, or if you are one of those people that have that D word every now and again, or maybe you do feel, you know, hopeless or helpless, you know, tune in, because we will always have something on Primetime to share with you, to lift your spirits and to know that you don't just get back to love. You get back to love, you never lose with it.
Yes, and it's funny, you took the words right out of my mouth, because I'm thinking this is the kind of a platform, or this is the place that people would want to visit, because you're very light. And it's not that you do deal with the realities of life, but you deal with them in such a way that does bring people up and inspires and gives them hope and empowers them. And you know, there was an interesting thing that came to mind. Our daughter is 22, she'll soon be 23, and I just driving here, I was thinking about a word she gave to me. When she was in her second year of college, she had come up with a number of stresses, one of which is that she'd gone away, contracted pneumonia. It was whatever, it doesn't matter. But she was up in Boston 4 times at the emergency room in the hospitals. They couldn't figure out how to heal her. Now, that was pretty tough. She was in such tremendous pain. But beyond that, she had some other issues in school. And here I am, you know, 1,500 miles away. My heart's going out to her. And yet something said, she'll work it out. Well, when I did go up and I visited with her, she said, you know, Mom, she said, I have learned in life that you don't really grow so much when things are all easy. She said the times that you grow the most is when you're going through challenges, because you have to really dig deep and say, what am I going to do? How am I going to use this situation for betterment? And she said, if I look at my life, she said, when things were challenging for me, that was when I grew the most. And now she's telling me this with a smile, even though I'm with her at the emergency room and she's in pain because she has pneumonia. But she understood that as a young girl.
At 22.
Well, she was even younger then.
Well, you've obviously given her a lot of messages.
I don't know if I came up with that. But
well, but I mean, you know,
it's universal.
Learn. It is universal, because either you learn or you don't learn. Or you choose to learn, or you choose not to learn, or you just don't live from the heart and live from the head. And
there are times we've all done it. I mean, have we ever been in places, it's like sometimes you could be in a place and you don't even know how to get yourself out of it, or you think you like that place.
Right.
And eventually you think, okay, this is doing me no good.
Sure.
And it's always great to know that there's a place you can go to. Now, maybe you have a show. I write. There are people that are out there that are lifting others up into different spaces, different places, different places of thought where it's almost like the air's a little bit lighter.
Yes.
The sun shines brighter.
I'm so glad to hear you say that, because I really like the way you delivered that, bringing to just, you're right, higher thought, higher consciousness, and I'm noticing that consciousness level is getting more into that whole love mode. And you say about having that place to go. Yes, I have my show to go to, which I really love, because I know that it has a purpose, a great purpose. That's why we call it prime time. You can take it however you like it, because when I used to do the shows on HSN, I said, well, when did you do your shows? I go prime time, and they'd go, well, what time? I said, well, 3 to 6 in the morning. That was my prime time, right? I mean, it's all in your perception. But I have to tell you something that was really fun when you say, people have their place where they go. Maybe they go to a park. Maybe they have a special place in their home. So to humor myself in my times of stress, and after working with celebrities in the green room, I thought, I really like this concept. I'm going to create my own green room. And I did. And I treat it as if it's like the celebrity room in my house, and that's where I go.
You are the celebrity.
And I put the star on the door.
Barbara. No, I think it's wonderful.
I did that to humor myself.
That may make it onto a future Maura Sweeney podcast. I kid you not. Is there a star in you? And do you know you're a star? Do you know every one of us is? And see, this is one thing I see in everybody.
Yes.
I see everyone as a gem. And that's why oftentimes I don't remember names and faces, or sometimes even those structural details about a person that others relate to. But I see their giftings, their talents, their stories. And for what other people may not recognize as being of great value, I could think, wow, what a story. You overcame something phenomenal.
Exactly.
Or you're doing something I never heard of. But that idea of what you did, see, it's different for all of us.
Right.
That was your vision.
Yeah.
That's how you empower yourself and love yourself.
Yeah.
And I don't mean love yourself as in a narcissist.
No, I know.
But it's
I know.
You give place to say, I am here. I am a person of love. I'm worthy of love. I love other people. I'm a star in my green room. That's going into a Maura Sweeney podcast.
I love it.
I love it, Barbara. This is where I get so much of my material from.
When you work with celebrities, no matter what studio you're at, there's a green room there.
Yes.
And I think, I want to look let's look into the history of I don't know why they call it a green room. John, why do they call them a green room? I'm just curious. Do you know?
To relax you.
Is that what it is?
The color.
Oh, like the colored green.
Yes.
I would think it would be more lavender. That's more relaxed.
But apparently green, maybe when I was even in grammar school, they used to use a pale green, not a deep.
Yeah.
But it's a relaxing color. Now here, I might even have to look that up. See, I love little things like this because each one of them provides people with a nugget. Now maybe some people can relate to the green room concept and being a star.
Or a
other
garden,
people,
right.
Right.
Did you hear the gal talking today? The story that she was talking about plants growing at their time and in their place.
And in their season.
And the different seasons, just like men, we have our own seasons. Clearly summer is not my season because I feel like a wet dishcloth all the time. But it's just so interesting to hear the different women. Like today, we had one gal, the Japanese gal, that was doing Japanese painting and that story. Then the other, and I forget some of the names, but the one that is doing she's like a dog psychic.
Yes, helping people relate to their pets.
Yes. I just want to get a hold of her, get her over to my house and see what's in my Yorkie's mind.
Think about this. Whatever she's doing, would you call her like the animal whisperer?
Yeah.
That is something going on within the soul. She has connected at a different level.
Yes.
I don't know if you go to school for that, although she probably does. She instructs people on how to do it. But that's a matter, too, of listening to the soul.
Sure.
It's like, have you ever been around people and some people you get along with great, and other people there's something that's not so well.
You're just not aligned with them.
Right. But do you know what? Could you imagine if you give up a lot of the superfluous side of life and you just relate to one another on that loving level of, tell me something about yourself that will add to my life. Share with me something of your heart. Oh my gosh. We would change this world. And you know something interesting when I was talking earlier, and I said up to higher levels and spaces where the atmosphere is a little lighter. You know, I remember many years ago, I was an advocate for a Washington, D.C. based 501c3. Anyway, they were like the no people. Don't do it this way, don't do it that way.
Oh.
And I remember it made my soul feel uncomfortable because I thought, what is it that we're advocating? It was always, instead of telling people what not to do, I'd rather advocate or be an example of something good. I think when we do that, Barbara, people forget their anger.
Yes.
They forget their fear.
Yes.
They get rid of a lot of those protective elements.
Yes.
And it's almost like their mind forgets the former ways. And I think that it's a nice way of moving into a new place in life.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why
society.
we attend the Amazing Women group with Cher Kistler. Cher, if you're out there, you know we love you, and we've got 5 minutes to close. But something that I hadn't heard before, I joined her group, and I have very little time, so I have to be very selective with my timing and where I go. And I chose her group because of the way she handles it with the collaboration, and there's no competition. And talk about that light air is so beautiful, because a lot of the networking groups, and I can understand how they do them, you know, you can only have one painter, one restaurant, or one of this or that. But at this group, it doesn't matter if there's 4 or 5 life coaches, because people will relate to every single one of them differently.
Right.
There could be 6 or 10 Maura Sweeneys out there.
And it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. And that's what I love about that group. And you leave there just so enthused and really pumped up for life, to know that there really is that help, there is that hope, there is that love that we just share. And I tell you, that's what this is, an extension of that.
It is
with our show and everything. Now, Maura, real quickly, in this last few minutes, I want you to tell everybody, because you're going on a journey.
I am.
Tell us about that journey. A whole month?
5 minutes goes. Okay, I'll try to make this quick.
Okay.
This is amazing, Barbara. And hopefully I'll be on and I'll share the rest of the
You
story.
will be.
But I will be going with my husband. He plays Masters level basketball, and as he calls it, old farts basketball, but he loves it. And we will be going throughout the Balkans. We'll be gone for several weeks. We'll also be doing some business. I will be speaking when I'm over there at probably 2 universities and at an international conference on human resources, but the topic of it is on leadership. Now, what makes it so interesting is that the conference is in Dubrovnik, Croatia. I want to go back, and when you said I was not ready for this career until I was over 50, we had just closed our previous business and knew we wanted to go out and do something in our primetime years. We didn't even know what it was going to be, but we knew we had something within us to share. So we're on this family vacation in Dubrovnik, Croatia. And we're right down below the city. I'm in the water with my bathing suit on, just came off a little ride with my daughter. I'm looking at the sand, and suddenly in front of me, this enormous microphone shows up. It was a vision. It was so quick. It was so high, it reached up to the walls of the city of Dubrovnik. And the question came, if you had a giant microphone, what would you report? And just like that, the answer came. I'd report good news. And it was,
I love it.
And it was a story actually of what normally would be considered people that are at odds with one another. As I shared it, because again, it was a big microphone, everybody that heard it felt so happy. They felt like brothers. It brought everybody together. Now, what makes this so funny is that here I am, about a decade later, invited back to Dubrovnik, Croatia to speak at an international conference on leadership. Things I was reading about. Yes, the same exact place. And to think I was that little girl in 3rd grade reading every single book in the biography section on leaders. And I've spent a whole life watching and observing and finding out what is it that makes a person a true leader, which is really where we came from.
Yeah.
And here I am. I have a voice. I have a big microphone. They've got people from around the world that will be listening to me. I think it's hysterical.
What you think about, you bring
My
about.
prime time. Yeah, I guess so.
You
but
did.
I didn't even know it was going to look like this.
No, see?
That's what makes it so funny.
I tell you, I love hearing this. That to me is motivating for anybody out there that is sitting there thinking, do I really want to just be a couch potato? If you're happy with that, that's fine. Yay. But you know what? There's so much more to life if you want to go out there and maybe start dancing all over again, like I did. I mean, look what I still can't believe I did all that. But, it's following your passion. I was thinking today about, now I'm working on a fan dance, you should know.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a fan dance for us girls. It's very, very pretty. I know, I'm always coming up with something. And I came up with this thing called fan the fire, fuel the flames, or something like that, and really ignite your passion. And this is an expressive dance. Have you been to any of Janet Leigh's?
I went to one. It was just a little sample.
No, you got to go to a full blown out journey dance. Janet Leigh, if you're out there, in fact, I got to call her and have her watch the show because we're going to collaborate on that.
Very good.
How about that?
Oh, she's very inspiring.
I know,
and powerful.
I know. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming and doing our show.
And leading
taking
over.
Leading the way. Speaking of leadership, right? It's perfectly fine. You can lead my show anytime.
And you can put me back in my place anytime too, Barbara.
I would never do that. You are in your place. You're in your leadership role. And seriously.
Inspiring others to be in theirs. And that makes me so thrilled. I can't even tell you. Barbara, if I could inspire other people to rise up into whatever it is that they're designed to do and that they've desired to do.
Exactly.
Happy lady here. Happy lady if I could be an influence that way.
Well,
oh my goodness.
And on that note, we're going to close our show today. Thank you. We love you. We love you. Thanks for joining us today. I will be back Wednesday at 3:30 doing our My Chamber TV show, and then we'll be back next Monday. And I can't wait to hear about your travels. We want to take lots of pictures, get us lots of still shots so that we can show them.
Will do.
Thank you.
Prime time.
Prime time. You got it. We'll see you next time.